What is up, everyone? Please take a second and hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. So please hit that like button. Let me know how you're doing. And happy freedom. All right, hooligans. Give me a second here. I got to make sure YouTube and everything's running correctly. There we go. What's up, Astronomical? What's up, Colleen? What's up, In the Bushes? What's up, Sleuthy TV? What's up, Amanda? What's up, Trigger? What's up, Bubba? What's up, Lefty Lucy? What's up, Jason? What's up, Adrian? What's up, Justin? What's up, Robert? What's up, Proud Ankle? What's up, Jamie and Deborah? Happy freedom, you hooligans. I appreciate you guys being here. What's up, On the Ground with Tara? Appreciate you being in the chat. What's up, GQ? What's up, Betrayed by Corrupt Scumbags? What's up, Sam? What's up, Rasta? What's up, MD? Appreciate you guys being here. I'm gonna read through this really quick. Make sure you guys are racking up those likes, more hooligans. Hey, what's up, Mr. Beansy Beans? What's up, everyone on Twitch? I got a new strategy so we don't get the YouTube buffering issues we were having yesterday. Hopefully it works out. As you could probably tell, I'm still not tip top. My voice sounds like crap right now. I feel a little bit better than I did yesterday, though. A little bit. My vocal cords feel not great, but I feel better. What's up, Cerebrus? Happy freedom. What's up, Pumpkin? You saying hi, Klaus Daniels? No, hold on. You got something to say? Give him a little meow meow? You ain't got nothing for him? Why you get so shy? You're always screaming at me. Gigantic hooligan cat. What's up, Serum? What's up, Pumpkin? What's up, everyone on Rumble? What's up, Anthony? What's up, Donna Sparks? What's up, Donna? Happy freedom, hooligans. I appreciate you guys watching. What's up, everyone on Facebook? And Donna Sparks. Thank you so much for sending me these grow lights. I love growing, and I haven't been able to do that since I've lived in this apartment because I don't have any direct sunlight. I'm on the north side of the building, and the sun doesn't come over here. So I really appreciate you getting these off of the wish list. Super excited. As you can see, Klaus Daniels won't let my plant live. Maybe he will now that they're protected by lights. But I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Donna Sparks. What's up, Jonathan? What's up, Sam? What's up, Red? What's up, everyone on jeffmaclive.com? All right, hooligans, let's get her started. So later today, we'll have Old Man Walter talking about economic progress since taking office. That should be nice and humorous. That'll be happening about 2:45 today, about 45 minutes from now. Since I'm fashionably late, we might actually include that with this coffee with hooligans. Later on today, we have Old Man Walter and Jill Handler hosting a Lunar New Year reception. That happens at 5:30 Eastern time. We'll be covering that right on time. I don't have anything else going on today, so I don't think we'll have a watch party. We'll just knock it down while it's live. So today we will be covering Attorney General Merrick Garland makes ransomware announcement. Then we'll move on to Florida leaders blast Ron DeSantis over AP course. Then we will be covering migrants arrested for shoplifting $12,000 from Macy's. And then we'll be moving to an article, which is a continuation of something we covered last week. This is Do Not Pay. That's the company name. They're retiring their robot lawyer before it even has its first case. That's a really interesting article, especially if you were here for the first half of that last week. And then we will be wrapping things up with Minnesota Democrat reintroducing bill banning members of Congress from owning and trading stocks. And I think that's interesting, and I think it should already be in place. But that's just my opinion on that. So I'm going to read through the chat really quick. I'm going to get this video on the screen. It shouldn't buffer. I have some strategy. Hopefully this will go smoothly. But while I'm getting this all set up, drop some ones in the chat. Let me know you got your coffee, your tea, your water, whatever you have, and you are sitting there ready to go, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. That's what someone that really cared for me a lot when I was a teenager and I was going through hard things. When I started turning my life around, she would always say that to me. Oh, it's good to see you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. She's not with us anymore, but I think that's humorous. Reading through the chat really quick while I get everything set up. What's up, Sagittarius Dad? What's up, Native New Yorker? I'm seeing those ones in the chat. We'll get her started here. This video is around 20 minutes long, talking about ransomware. Ransomware is a type of malicious software designed to block access to a computer system until a sum of money is paid. That's pretty much what this video is going to be talking about. Well, it's going to be talking about a specific situation, but that's what ransomware is if you didn't already know.
Ransom payments from its victims. Hive extorted over $100 million in ransom payments from its victims. Last summer, FBI agents from the Tampa Division, with the support of prosecutors in the Criminal Division's Computer Crime and Intellectual Property Section and the Middle District of Florida, infiltrated the Hive network and began disrupting Hive's attempts to extort victims. For example, the FBI disrupted a Hive ransomware attack against the Texas school district's computer systems. The Bureau provided decryption keys to the school district, saving it from making a $5 million ransom payment. That same month, the FBI disrupted a Hive ransomware attack on a Louisiana hospital, saving the victim from a $3 million ransom payment. The FBI was also able to disrupt an attack on a food services company. The Bureau provided the company with decryption keys and saved the victim from a $10 million ransom payment. Since July of last year, we provided assistance to over 300 victims around the world, helping to prevent approximately $130 million in ransom payments. Our continued investigative efforts led us to 2 back-end computer servers located in Los Angeles that were used by Hive to store the network's critical information. Last night, pursuant to court order, we seized those servers. We also received court authorization to wrest control of Hive's darknet sites and render its services unavailable. This morning, if a Hive affiliate tries to access their darknet site, this is what they will see. Our investigation into the criminal conduct of Hive members remains ongoing. I want to thank all of the agents, prosecutors, and staff across the department for their work on this matter. I also want to thank the United States Secret Service, as well as all of our international partners, including Germany and the Netherlands, as well as our law enforcement partners at Europol. Cybercrime is a constantly evolving threat. But as I have said before, the Justice Department will spare no resource to identify and bring to justice anyone, anywhere, who targets the United States with a ransomware attack. We will continue to work both to prevent these attacks and to provide support to victims who have been targeted. And together with our international partners, we will continue to disrupt the criminal networks that deploy these attacks.
Prostitute.
Now I'm going to turn over the podium to Deputy Attorney General Monaco.
Good morning, and thank you, Attorney General. Over the last 2 years, the Attorney General and I have made clear that the Department will use all of the tools at its disposal and work with our partners to attack the ransomware threat from every angle. The Department's agents, prosecutors, and trial attorneys have partnered with law enforcement allies across the globe to track ransom payments through the blockchain and seize them back for victims, to dismantle ransomware networks, to warn targets of exigent ransomware threats, and to prevent attacks, and to disrupt the criminal ecosystem that enables the targeting of innocent victims. We've made it clear that we will strike back against cybercrime using any means possible, and today's action reflects that strategy. We have also pledged to place victims at the center of our strategy and our mission, and to prioritize prevention. As you will hear in more detail from the FBI director, for the past several months, the FBI and our prosecutors have been inside the network of one of the world's most prolific ransomware variants, Hive. The FBI has labeled Hive a top 5 ransomware threat, both for its technical sophistication, but also for the harm.
Why is she blurry and everyone else isn't?
But for all of the group's
She's just an idea.
it could not outfox our prosecutors, our agents, and our international law enforcement coalition. Unbeknownst to Hive, in a 21st century cyber stakeout, our investigative team lawfully infiltrated Hive's network and hid there for months, repeatedly swiping decryption keys and passing them on to victims.
The guy on the right looks like he's holding in a throw-up.
For months, we helped victims defeat their attackers and deprived the Hive network of extortion profits. Simply put, using lawful means, we hacked the hackers. We turned the tables on Hive, and we busted their business model, saving potential victims approximately $130 million in ransomware payments. Successful actions like the one we announced today require the creative use of civil and criminal authorities, and they require partnerships among law enforcement, to be sure, but also with victims. Our actions in this investigation should speak clearly to those victims. It pays to come forward and to work with us. We are all in this together. We need your help.
Now you're just jacking my lines, are you?
To prevent future victims, and in exchange, we pledge our tireless efforts to help you protect your systems and to prevent or recover losses. When a victim steps forward, it can make all the difference in recovering stolen funds or obtaining decryptor keys. So whether you own a small business or run a Fortune 500 company, whether you oversee a school district or manage a hospital, we can work with you to counter ransomware, to mitigate harm, to prevent loss, and to strike back at the bad guys. Although
You don't want to be victimized? Become a Fed today.
fight against ransomware, we will not rest when it comes to Hive and its affiliates and other ransomware actors. If you target victims here in the United States, the Department of Justice will target you. And if you're a victim, know that the Department of Justice and the FBI are on the job and will be fighting for you and alongside you throughout your moment of crisis. I'd now like to turn the podium over to Director Wray.
Well, I'm pleased to be here today to represent the FBI to speak about our year-and-a-half-long disruption campaign against the Hive ransomware group. Hive hurt thousands of victims across the country and around the world.
Oh, he was making that face to hold in tears. He's got a really soft voice. He's trying not to cry.
And then today, dismantling Hive's front and back-end infrastructure in the U.S. and abroad. This operation was led by our Tampa field office, assisted by our cyber division team at FBI headquarters and other field office personnel around the country, but also by FBI personnel stationed around the world who led the collaboration with our foreign law enforcement partners, often shoulder to shoulder, scrutinizing the same data that was essential to today's success, especially the fine work of the German Hooligan police headquarters.
Why is Garland in the back with that weird grin on his face?
High-tech crime unit and Europol.
It's unsettling.
Coordinated disruption of Hive's networks illustrates the power of collaboration between the FBI and our international partners. The FBI's strategy to combat ransomware leverages both our law enforcement and intelligence authorities to go after the whole cybercrime ecosystem, the actors, the finances, their communications, their malware, and their supporting infrastructure. And since 2021, that is exactly how we've hit Hive ransomware. Last July, FBI Tampa gained clandestine, persistent access to Hive's control panel. And since then, for the past 7 months, we've been able to exploit that access to help victims while keeping Hive in the dark, using that access to identify Hive's victims and to offer over 1,300 victims around the world keys to decrypt their infected networks, preventing at least $130 million in ransom payments and cutting off the gas that's fueling Hive's fire. Our access to Hive's infrastructure was no accident or coincidence. Across our cyber program, we combine our technical expertise, our experience handling human sources, and our other investigative tradecraft to seek out technical indicators that victims can use to protect themselves. And here, that focus on obtaining useful technical indicators led us to Hive's decryption keys, which we turned around and provided to those in need. Like when our investigative team identified the initial stages of an attack against a university, proactively notified the school and gave it the technical information that it needed to kick Hive off of its network before ransomware was deployed. Or in another instance, when an FBI case agent and computer scientist rushed to provide hands-on support to a local specialty clinic and helped the doctor, who also managed that clinic's IT security,
Tom too. Yeah, but who protects us from you? Exactly.
Because no victim is too small. We've also shared keys with many victims overseas through our foreign-based legal attaché offices, like when we gave a foreign hospital a decryptor they used to get their systems back up before negotiations even began, possibly saving lives.
Thank you so much, Mr. Beansy Bean, for gifting a subscription on Twitch. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
The infrastructure used by these criminal actors, crippling Hive's ability to sting again. I'm also here today to thank those victims and private sector partners who worked with us and who helped make this operation possible by protecting its sensitivities, and to demonstrate that we can and we will act on the information that victims share with us. So today's lesson for businesses large and small, for hospitals and police departments, and really all the other many victims of ransomware is this: reach out to your local FBI field office today, introduce yourself so that you know who to call if you become the victim of a cyber attack. We are ready to help you build a crisis response plan so that when an intruder does come knocking, you'll be prepared.
So forfeit all your information before you become victimized? Is that what we're doing here?
Others have. You will know how we operate quickly and quietly, giving you the assistance, the intelligence, and the technical information that you want and you need. Unfortunately, during these past 7 months, we found that only about 20% of Hive's victims reported potential issues to law enforcement. Here, fortunately, we were still able to identify and help many victims who didn't report, but that is not always the case. When victims report attacks to us, we can help them.
Gotta get a refill. I'll be right back.
Today's announcement is only the beginning. We're going to continue gathering evidence, building out our map of Hive developers.
Prime is more expensive than ever, but I just discovered a money-saving alternative. Are you still using Prime? At this point, it's the dinosaur of online shopping, but what if I told you there's a new, exciting alternative? The best part is, the discounts are even better than Amazon Prime. We all love getting a good deal, but do we ever stop to consider what we use to find those deals and whether or not it's actually the best option? Like you, I was bored of the old websites that promise great deals but rarely deliver and thought, how do I even know whether or not to trust these sites? With this in mind, I did some digging and uncovered a Chrome extension by Capital One that finds real deals for online shopping. All you have to do is add it to your web browser and boom, it's
arrests, seizures, and other operations, whether by the
Anything to catch me off guard.
and abroad. Now, while this is, yes, a fight to protect our country, our citizens, and our national security, make no mistake, the fight for cybersecurity spans the globe. But the FBI's presence and partnerships do as well. So a reminder to cyber criminals, no matter where you are and no matter how much you contort and try to twist and turn to cover your tracks, your infrastructure, your criminal associates, your money, and your liberty are at risk, and there will be consequences. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a couple questions. Sarah, thanks for doing this. I have two
Hi.
questions to two different topics. On the topic of this press conference, can you talk a little bit more about how you infiltrated Hive, how you stayed under the radar for so long?
Just want some coffee. Gee whiz.
I have
Look at you hooligans burning my chat down.
apprehending somebody from this group given the international cooperation with law enforcement. And then on my non-Hive question, I wanted to know, in light of the revelations of
Can you squeak up?
current president and former vice president having classified documents, is the Justice Department urging other former White House officials or high-ranking intelligence officials
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
to review their own files just out of precaution to see if they may accidentally have retained any material?
So I'm not going to be able to talk about the latter question. On the former question, I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to the director. So I think as you can hear from the various statements that we've made, this really has proceeded in 3 steps. We begin with cooperation from private sector victims, which is essential for us to succeed. Then we use court-authorized access to electronic systems, search warrants, court orders to get into the system. This is not exactly hiding in plain sight. This is just hiding. And we hide and we watch as they proceed.
Fern, when will World War III be kicking off? Well, you're in the right place. When it does, we'll be covering it.
To the victims so that they can de-encrypt their systems and not have to pay the ransomware. And then finally, and this is what happened last night, we take down the infrastructure. We take down the servers that power Hive's ability to go ahead. We can only do that once we locate where the servers are, and that's what we were able to do just very, very recently and resolve the matter last night. I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
So I don't think I can give you numbers on the size, but I would say a couple things. Obviously, you can look at the sheer number of victims around the world and around the country, the diversity of victims, both big businesses and small, the number of foreign partners involved. The thing to understand about ransomware variants and networks like Hive is you've got the developers who create the malware and the administrators, which sounds benign, but is actually, I think, almost like the the hub of the variant, and then you got all the affiliates. And part of what makes these things challenging is, and Hive is a good example of it, is what we call ransomware as a service or cybercrime.
24/7, no sign lady? I was kind of thinking the same thing. Screen looks a little naked without, some unknown third party sitting there with their giant hands flashing gang signs at us while political officials, lie to us.
Significant. As far as arrests, I think anybody involved with Hive should be concerned because this investigation is very much still ongoing. And we are engaged in what we call joint sequenced operations. The Attorney General described it well, but that includes everything from going after their infrastructure, going after their crypto, going after the people who work with them here, getting the key.
Thought you guys were against crypto.
But it also includes hunting people down with our partners around the world. And sometimes those people may face a U.S. criminal justice system.
All right, thanks for letting me know, Snooks.
With all of our many partners who are increasingly lashed up with us.
Chris.
Thank you for doing this. A question on Hive and then an off-topic question for you, Mr. Attorney General. On Hive, what is the connection to the Russian government at this point with regard to Hive? Do you believe that the Russian government is aiding or sheltering people behind Hive? And I noticed that there weren't any arrests being announced today. Do you anticipate that you will be announcing arrests with regard to that? Then I have the off-topic question.
Yeah, so I think unfortunately on that topic, we're in the middle of an ongoing investigation, so I don't think we're going to be able to discuss any of the particulars of the question that you asked. I'm a little afraid that's going to be the answer to your second question as well, but go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, with regard to the Trump and Biden special counsels, are you considering an effort to coordinate the work of these two special counsels, such as maybe their timeline or their final reports, so the public can have somewhat of an apples-to-apples comparison at the end of this? Or do you view that as interference in the special counsel's work?
Well, I don't want to talk about the particulars of investigations, and particularly not a special counsel investigation. Say as a general matter, the people we choose for special counsel are experienced prosecutors with experience in the Justice Department. They know how the Justice Department works. They know what the department's practices are. And I'm fully confident that they will resolve these matters one way or the other in the highest traditions of the department.
Ken.
For Director Wray, could you talk a little bit about how unusual this sort of operation is? Has the FBI ever before penetrated a ransomware network to this extent where it's able to provide the keys? And then a second off topic, as somebody who deals with classified information every day, without asking you to comment on any pending matter, are you concerned that the system for accounting for classified information in the executive branch may be broken?
So on the first question, we have started to have more and more situations where we are able to, through the ingenuity and tenacity of our personnel, get access to keys. I'm not sure we've had one that's been quite the scale in terms of the sheer number of keys we've been able to get access to and the sheer number of victims we've been able to help over this period of time. We did have the Kaseya case not that long ago where there were keys that we were able to get access to. The other part of what happened here today, we've also started to do more often, which is this dismantling of the cyber criminals' infrastructure. And sometimes that involves taking down darknet marketplaces. Other times it involves essentially removing malware from systems. But
from what I understand, most of the dark web is just feds anyways. It's just traps.
Success, where impact...
Like, what do they do when they bust other feds? They just throw a pizza party or what?
Taking down infrastructure, seizing cryptocurrency, being much more creative and kind of multidisciplinary in how we attack the problem, because I think that's what's called for, and it's a direct outgrowth of the new, no longer new.
I like how they started it by saying that people were being attacked and their cryptocurrency was vulnerable because of it, and now they're talking about how they seize other people's cryptocurrency to prevent them from financially being able to fund their operations that are supposedly victimizing other people. That's interesting.
A regular part of our counterintelligence divisions and counterintelligence programs work. and people need to be conscious of the rules regarding classified information and appropriate handling of it.
Yes. Tell us about how classified information should be handled. Don't tell us. Tell old man Walter. Let Pence know. Did you guys check your sock drawer? Well, I mean, that went smoother than yesterday. YouTube, you suck. I might have to pay for YouTube Pro or whatever it's called so I don't have to deal with ads. Alright, moving forward, hooligans. So next, we're going to be covering a video titled Florida Leaders Blast Ron DeSantis Over AP Course. Basically, we're going to see a bunch of mad people who are upset at DeSantis because he made an announcement I think it was last week. What is today? Thursday? It might have been Monday or Tuesday we covered it, if it wasn't last week. But we covered a video with DeSantis saying that they're finding CRT and other perversions, we'll just put it that way, in books and other curriculum in schools in Florida. They've come across that stuff. They don't like it. So they made an announcement that they're cutting that out, right? They don't want that in school. Well, now we got a group of mad people who feel they're being oppressed or discriminated against because they want to know whether or not they should turn their wiener inside out anyways. Just give me a second here while I set this up. Drop some ones in the chat if you're ready to go.
What do you want?
He wants to say
That's a nice still image. George, just get off YouTube and move to Rumble, period. I would if anybody else would. We're currently live on YouTube, Twitch, Odyssey, Rumble, Facebook, jeffmaclive.com, LinkedIn, Twitter. Where else are we live? I think we're live on 2 different Telegram channels. We're live everywhere, but everyone just likes to hang out on YouTube, where they hate us and they hate free thinkers. But you gotta do what you gotta do to get the information where it needs to go. We're all in this together, even if we're on a platform that hates us. So I'm seeing those ones in the chat. Let's get her started.
that I don't belong. He wants to say that you don't belong. Whose story does and doesn't get to count. But we are here to tell him, we are America. Yes. Governor, Black history is American history, and you are on the wrong side of history. Yes. He wants to control what our kids can learn based on politics and not sound policy. He repeatedly attacks the First Amendment rights of Floridians, with books being banned from libraries and classrooms, and now throwing his weight against this AP African American history course. How is it political to talk about and to remember our history? The truth is the truth. You can't change it. Amen. It simply is. But if you try to sugarcoat it, if you refuse to teach it accurately, then the truth can be suppressed, it can be diminished, and if we are not vigilant, even erased.
So that sounds all well and good. And I agreed with the words said. If they were out of context like that, I don't think that we should be censored from books and knowledge and stuff like that. I remember as a kid being told, you know, Germany can't have these kind of books, or in the UK they don't let these kind of books and movies and stuff, they're banned. But here in America we can watch everything and read everything, and we're not censored from anything. Of course, that was 20-something years ago, and that's not the way the world is anymore. We are heavily censored from everything now. We're just as bad as anywhere else. But then when you put it into context, what she's saying is they're upset just about the things that DeSantis is banning. And he has stated during that briefing that he did and we covered, that they're coming across books and curriculum that is labeled as Black history, education and stuff like that. But then there's like sub courses in it where, like, this week we're going to talk about history, but then next week we're going to talk about CRT, but the next week we're going to talk about queer theory. And that was something he specifically stated, and he said, well, what does that have to do with Black history? He's like, it doesn't. It's a political agenda. He's like, anything that's a political agenda, we're just cutting that out. Everything else is going to stay. He also stated that the course is not a regular course. It's not just something that everyone has to take. It's a course. It's like an advanced course. You would take like step 1, and then you would move on to this, and this has all kinds of additives, all kinds of political additives mixed in the course there. And he was saying, you know, they don't want that. That's not going to help educate anyone. That's going to help division. And so that's, you know, what he stated was being removed. And now you have this group of people stating that they're being cut out of history and stuff like that. But it's just ideas, political ideas to blur the lines of reality. It's not history. These are new ideas, right? Turning your wiener inside out is like a fairly new thing. People haven't been doing that for 20 years. These are ideas being pushed onto our children who don't know any better. And they're going to grow up with this feeling like a normal topic, maybe even a normal behavior. And I don't think that's right, but that's just my opinion. So that's that. We're going to move forward. Next, we're going to be covering a video talking about migrants being arrested for shoplifting 12,000 doll hairs from Macy's. This video is about 6 minutes long. I'm going to read through the chat really quick before we move forward. I don't like to race through everything. I'm trying to break things up, you know, get some flow going here. Also, instead of dropping some ones, why don't you drop some coffees in the chat if you're ready to go. We can go ahead and do that. We don't have our own emoji, but everybody's got coffee emojis. So drop some coffees if you're ready to go. Look at old man Walter jumping the gun there. Well, if he's live, then we'll just go ahead and put him on the screen. We're gonna hold off on the criminal migrants, and we're gonna show old man Walter because he's live right now, and then we'll show the criminal migrants. How's that sound, hooligans? Now I'm gonna rewind it back to the beginning. I know I like to cover things live, but it's not going to make a whole lot of sense if we don't, you know, go from where it starts. So we'll be a little bit late, but it's still live, so just give me a moment here.
Hello, my name is Megan Russell. I live in Leonardtown and I'm a first-year apprentice with the United Association.
This live is about old man Walter talking about economic progress since taking office. This is live right now. Hit that like button. More likes, more hooligans.
As soon as I was old enough. So I joined the United Association's 5-year registered apprenticeship. It's hard work, but I'm earning full wages and benefits while I learn the skills to prepare for a lifelong career in the trades. I'm just beginning my career, but I'm already earning money for my future. I'm saving to one day provide for my family, to be able to retire with the dignity I've earned. At the United Association, we represent more than 362,000 members, and our work matters. Replacing lead pipes, installing efficient heating and air conditioning, installing fire protection systems, and much more. We're building the future of American infrastructure, but we cannot do it alone. Luckily, we have President Biden. He gets us. He gets what the dignity of work is about. Thanks to the President's economic plan and his investments to rebuild America, President Biden is creating good jobs and opportunities for working families like mine. That is why it's my great honor to introduce the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
The White House can't get anything right. Look, old man Walter, glowing. He's dang near transparent. Oh, don't run, old man Walter. Don't run. Don't trip, don't fall. Is that the real old man Walter? Actually, it looks like he gained some weight. Pulled out his bedroom toy. Stick that right to your mouth, old man Walter.
How are y'all doing? Please take a seat if you have one.
How y'all doing?
I said that thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lone Wolf, for that $4 donation on YouTube. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Seat, everybody. And there wasn't a single chair in the place.
Prostitute.
I said that Biden really is stupid. He doesn't know it.
You ain't wrong.
Congressman. He's around here somewhere.
Where's Jackie?
Oh, there you are. Doug, thanks for the passport into town. Doug and I have something in common. We both married way above our station.
You can't say that every
Way
speech,
above our
dude.
station. I want to thank you all very much. Look, good afternoon to the Steamfitters Local 602. And President McManus, Mark, thank you. You've been a great friend for a long time. I appreciate it. And Megan, thank you for the introduction. I just got a chance to talk to Megan's mom. I think I embarrassed her. I said, call your mom. And so we just talked to her mom. And her mom, I told her, as they say in Southern Delaware, she'd done a good job on this one. Thank you very much, Megan, for that introduction. You're learning what so many others have found.
Creeper.
Career in the trades means a lot of stability, but also challenging work and a chance to be part of a strong community. You know, Congressman Beyer, you've been doing a great job for this district, and you're one of the best in the country. You really are. I don't want to ruin his reputation, but we vote a lot alike. And thank you, County Chairman.
Scary ghoul.
For joining us, and thanks for the passport into town. Look, we've got a lot to do. We've achieved a lot because of all of you in this room and other rooms around the country. And but I'd like to look ahead at what's to come, what we're going to be doing. Just this morning,
That's what she said.
we got some very good news about the American economy. Every 3 months, the economic outlook of America is laid out on an official report, a government report, that on the state of the economy. It came out today, this morning, and I'm not sure, and I mean this sincerely, the news could have been any better. Economic growth is up, stronger than expert expected at 2.9%. We're growing. Jobs are the highest in American number and the highest in American history. And wages are up, and they're growing faster than inflation. Over the past 6 months, inflation has gone down every month, and God willing, will continue to do that. Manufacturing jobs continue to go up stronger than any time in the last 40 years. And I don't think it's unfair to say that this is all evidence that the Biden economic plan, because y'all, is actually working. It's working. It really is. And there's no question.
Scream into that microphone.
My mother were here, she would have had me say at the outset, I apologize for my back when I'm speaking to y'all. I'm sorry. But look, we're moving in the right direction. Now we've got to protect those gains. We've got to protect those gains that our policies have generated. Protect them from the MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives who are threatening to destroy this progress. Look, you know,
Why can't you just love all of America? Like, I don't understand that.
You know, it's hard.
It's like we gotta have two presidents. We gotta have one for the red team and one for the blue team because this guy only cares about the blue team, which, I don't know, I guess I probably can't go any farther than that without getting a strike.
Taxes for billionaires who pay virtually only 3% of their income now. 3% they pay. You know, a babysitter pays more than that. And they want to impose this one I love. They want to impose a 30% national sales tax on everything from food, clothing, school supplies, housing, cars, a whole deal, 30%. No, you think I'm joking? If I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it. And folks, the reason they want to do that, they want to eliminate the income tax system, because guess what? That's the only way the millionaires and billionaires have to pay any taxes.
Because guess what?
That's what happened to all y'all if, in fact, 30% sales tax on everything you buy, from eggs to automobiles. Not a joke. And one more, I've been saying this during the last campaign, the off-year campaign. Doug knows. Look, here's the deal. You got to cut your they want to cut your Social Security and Medicare. No, this is the God's truth. It's almost unbelievable. And beyond that, they're actually threatening to have us default on the American debt, a debt that's been accumulated over 230 years, okay? And the interest on that debt, we've never, ever done that. So I have a rhetorical question. What in God's name would the Americans give up the progress we've made for the chaos they're suggesting? I don't get it. That's why the MAGA Republicans deliberately choose to inflict this kind of pain on the American people. Why? Why? This nation has gone through too much. We've come too far to let that happen. I will not let it happen. Not on my watch. I will veto everything they send us. Not after all the progress we made and how far we've come. Last week was the 2-year anniversary of the day I was sworn in as president. And at the time I was sworn in, the pandemic was raging and the economy was reeling. Millions of you were out of work through no fault of your own. Millions more kept their jobs, but they saw their hours and their paychecks cut. Millions of Americans. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. Small businesses make up 50% of the entire economy. Schools across the country were closed. Teachers and first responders were laid off. For families that relied on a weekly paycheck and not their stock portfolios to put real food on the table, there was real pain for these people. I mean, for real. Some of you remember it. God forbid, some of you had to go through it.
It's not bad enough that we had to live through that, but that's all they talk about now, like we're still living through it.
It didn't start with the pandemic. For decades, the backbone of America, the middle class, has been being hollowed out. Too many good-paying jobs in manufacturing were moved overseas by corporate America. Why? Because labor was cheaper. We're changing the dynamic, by the way.
People weren't going to work because you guys forced jabby jabs.
America. That's how we're doing it. But think about it, folks. When jobs moved overseas, factories at home closed down. Once thriving cities and towns became shadows of what they used to be. As they were hollowed out, something else was lost. Pride. Pride and a sense of self-worth if you lived in those towns and places. The so-called effects of trickle-down economics and the policies of my predecessor. You know, they view the world from Park Avenue. I view it where the wealthy, in fact, you get, and if everything works well for them, all that's going to trickle down and help the rest of us. Well, I come from a background where that never worked. But there's another view. There's another view.
What do you mean? You've been wealthy for like the last 130 years.
Folks from Springfield, or cities where I was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where I grew up in Claymont, Delaware, or thousands of cities like them. The view that says the backbone of America are the people who get every morning, put on their shoes, and go to work and make a living. Folks, I've said it many times, Wall Street did not build America. The middle class built America. And unions built the middle class. Unions. Not labor, unions built the middle class. And I ran for president, my word, to build the economy from the bottom.
He ran for president God. I didn't even know that was a position.
The poor have a chance to climb up a ladder. The middle class do well, and the wealthy still do very well. There's never been a time when the middle class is doing well, the wealthy didn't do well. So folks, look, my dad used to have an expression. He'd say, Joey, a job's about, I give him my word to this, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. First major piece of legislation we passed without a single vote from the other team.
I don't know if he's going to make it through the speech.
Rescue plan. Why? Because tax bases were way down. Cities and counties didn't have enough money to keep things going. So what did we do? We gave states and local governments the money they needed to keep cops on the beat, firefighters in the fire hall, first responders on the job, teachers in the classroom, nurses in the clinics and hospitals. Literally, they would have to have fired tens of thousands had we not provided the means for that. Back then, only 3.5 million people even had their first vaccination because the other guy and the other team didn't think it mattered a whole lot. Now,
You mean he didn't force it on us? Is that what you're saying, old man Walter? Is that bad? Is that a bad thing, Communist Walter?
We've also reduced the cost of health insurance for average Americans as well. We passed the bipartisan infrastructure plan. We did get some Republican votes to get that done. An infrastructure plan larger than anything except Eisenhower's National Highway Bill over 60 years ago.
Are they friends?
Once in a generation of putting once in a generation opportunity to put Americans back to work. You can't be the #1 economy, the strongest economy in the world, without the best infrastructure in the world. It's not possible.
I'm not gonna lie. I really want to see the MAGA King come into like John Cena music and just drop kick this guy right off stage, like dun 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 dun.
Making it happen. But think about it, not a joke. Last year, we funded 700,000 major construction projects. 700,000 all across America. From highways to airports to bridges to tunnels to broadband. By the end of this year, that's going to be more than 20,000 projects. Big and small, cities, east, west, north, and south, all part of it. Major projects, like the bridge between Kentucky and Ohio. My friend Mitch McConnell and I announced last month, the Brent Smith Bridge was built 60 years ago, had to close down several times for repairs and causing havoc across the Ohio River. It was badly needed repair. We're finally be able to commit over $1 billion to fix that bridge and build another alongside it. That bridge carries every single day $2 billion worth of freight. Let me say that right. Right now it carries $2 billion worth of freight every single day from Florida to Canada. It's a major part of our economy, not just in the Midwest, but across the country. Folks have been talking about fixing that bridge for decades, but we're getting it done now because of that bill.
Well, they really messed that up.
Next week,
he said because and then everybody started clapping.
Replace a 150-year-old tunnel.
This isn't staged. This isn't staged.
Which will allow rail traffic to move up and down the East Coast. I'm probably the only non-rail guy who's walked that tunnel. No, I'm not joking. Still, last time I walked it, they still had lights that were on a string hanging down, leaks in the roof. Folks, 150 years old. Nothing's been done to it. Everything has to slow down. And there's a great worry that part of it could collapse. But folks, nothing's happened. We're going to build a new tunnel. And between New York and New Jersey as well, replacing the tunnel is also in desperate need of repair. This is going to cut commute times, improve safety, make travel more reliable for 200,000 people making trips through that tunnel every single solitary day. And that's not all. We're going to, you all are doing it already.
Guess what?
The poisonous lead pipes like you read about so much and what you're doing. Not just in Flint, Michigan, but throughout the country. We're replacing lead pipes in 10 million homes and 400,000 schools and child care centers. So
Just making numbers up.
every child in America can turn on a faucet at home and drink clean water without fear of damage to their brain or something else.
Not in Michigan.
Think about that. For God's sake, this is the United States of America. We're making sure that every community, urban or rural, has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent. Think during the pandemic when schools were closed, you'd ride by a McDonald's, all kinds of cars in the parking lot. They weren't buying McDonald's. Not a joke. They were going into their internet connection so they could do the homework with their kids. Every farmer in America has the ability to know, should have the ability to know, when it's profitable to sell their crop, their cattle, they're on the market. Only way you know that is through the internet. It's a big deal. We can't have people afford to go without internet.
Run. He knows all about brain damage.
Infrastructure is about creating tens of
He's the example.
that everyone can access, regardless of whether you have a college degree or not. No one knows that better than the people sitting in front of me and the people behind me here. You're the reason, by the way, if all of a sudden all the investment bankers stopped working, nothing. You all quit, America comes to a standstill. Not a joke, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Imagine if the IBW decided to go on strike. Not a joke. What happened?
Look at these people over here on the edge of their seat, waiting to see if old man Walter's going to fall down those stairs.
No. I'm not trying to be nice. And by the way,
No, just clap.
I've been saying this for the last 400 years I've been in office. And so, folks, look, it's about investing in America and reinvesting in places that have been forgotten. Seeing communities all over America.
They're trying to make it seem like he speaks sarcastically to cover up the fact that he never knows what he's talking about and he just says outrageous stuff. They're just trying to make it seem like he's purposely doing it to be sarcastic.
We'll be able to bring pride back to those communities that were once so proud. So how many times how many people do you know of relatives around the country where their kids go to a decent school, they graduate from high school, and they go up, Mom, I got to move. There's no jobs here. There's not any exact.
How do you move if you ain't got a job?
No jobs here, Mom, I got to move. From the towns and cities that don't have to talk to their parents about this anymore, about having to leave home so they can get a decent job. Then in a bipartisan way, we actually passed the Chips and Science Act that I pushed.
The Chips and Salsa Act.
Just to make sure that America leads, not participates, leads the world in innovation and research and development, especially in the manufacturing of semiconductors. You all know these are small computer chips, smaller than the tip of my little finger, that power virtually everything in our lives. From cell phones to automobiles to artificial intelligence. Folks, look.
He went to say television, then he said intelligence. He's not sure what he's talking about.
The States of America invented these chips. We invented them. The first in the world, we invented them. It was American innovation that made them smaller, faster, and more powerful. Over 30 years ago, we in fact manufactured 30% of the global chip production, worth tens of billions of dollars. But today, we produce only 10%. 10%. Instead of the supply chain for these chips starting in the United States, it starts in countries we couldn't rely on. Look what happened during the pandemic. When overseas factories that make these chips shut down, automakers literally shut down the production lines. Fewer cars were made. Workers on the shop floor were laid off. 1/3 of the core of inflation in 2021 was because of the price of automobiles grew so much because you could not have the 3,000 chips needed to make the system work. Producing fewer cars because of the shortage of semiconductors. One car needs, I said 3,000, 300 of these chips. We can't ever be in a position where American auto manufacturers can't make cars because we don't make chips in America. So I've made a decision.
That stuff doesn't even matter. During the time while that was happening, even if that job was here, you weren't allowed to go to work. because everybody was laid off. I was working for a manufacturer that builds car parts, and they wouldn't even let us go to work because they were so scared of everything. So what does it even matter? Talking about old stuff and blaming today's problems on something that happened 2 years ago.
Really? And this law is about a lot more than chips. It's about science as well. Decades ago, the United States of America invested 2% of its GDP in research and development. 2% of the billions of dollars of the GDP we invested in research and development. You know what we do today? Less than 0.7%. We used to rank #1 in the world in research and development. We have the best universities, the best minds in the world. We stop investing in ourselves. Guess what?
Guess what?
9 in the world from #1. China, a decade ago, was #8 in the world. Now it's #2 in the world. And countries are closing on us fast. The CHIPS and Science Act, I finally convinced our friends to let them know they'll allow us to reclaim our leadership in the world. Companies from home and abroad around the world have announced more than $300 billion in investments in American manufacturing that includes computer chips, manufacturing, science, and look, you know.
He just gets up there and says numbers.
Investors in the United States of America happen to be a Korean country, a South Korean company. They're investing billions of dollars. I said, why?
A South Korean country?
Korea. He said, because you're the single best workers in the world and you're the most reliable nation in the world.
This guy is unfit. He is unfit.
We're building new chip factories and new good-paying jobs in Ohio, Arizona, Poughkeepsie, New York, Syracuse.
Hey, I appreciate you being here, Boston Patriot.
In Ohio, Intel is investing $20 billion. More than half of it will go to construction of state-of-the-art semiconductor factories, to creating 7,000 prevailing wage construction jobs. 7,000. By the way, the deal I said, you come, you pay prevailing wage. You pay prevailing wage. And of the 10,000 jobs in that field of dreams of 1,000 acres, west of Columbus, 3,000 permanent jobs operating in these factories. By the way, these factories are multiple size of football fields. I mean, they're multiples of the football fields, each of them. You know, those jobs pay an average in the factory of $135,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree.
No, you'll just work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not even have a life outside of being at work. That's right. You don't need a college degree.
We're trying for years to give Medicare.
Go work for a factory, because that's great. When I worked in a factory, there was none but happy people in there.
Medicare, so they can help. Well, guess what? We pay the highest prescription drug prices of any country in the world. Let me say it again. The highest of any country in the world, because other countries don't allow that to happen. So we wanted to give them the same power the Veterans Administration has used to cut drug price in half for our military personnel. Big Pharma is always able to stop us. I've been trying this for over 30 years when I was in the Senate as well. But we finally got it done.
Eric, yep, 60 hours a week.
Thank you.
Exactly. We weren't out there taking tequila shots on our break because we were having a really great time working at the factory. Not at all. What's up, Daddy at 3? Appreciate you being here.
In fact, invent are because of federal investment, federal research, federal development, your tax dollars. Your tax dollars. They do good work, but your tax dollars get them off the ground. Well, here's the deal. We put a cap, and it's now in effect as of January 1, of $2,000 a year on prescription drug costs for seniors, even if their drugs cost $10,000, $12,000, or $14,000 a year, as some cancer drugs do. They pay no more than $2,000 a year. And in addition, we put a $35 a month cap on insulin for millions of seniors on Medicare instead of a minimum of $400 a month. mean, think about it. It was here in this county early on that I was doing a town meeting, and a young woman, a mom, stood up and said, you know, I have 2 daughters and type 2 diabetes.
This is the only president I've ever seen where he does most of his speech with his back facing the camera.
How many of you know, you don't have to say whether you do, how many of you know someone close to you that has type 1 or 2 diabetes and needs insulin? Look around, press. Well, guess what? They're paying between $400 and $1,000 a month. You know how much it costs to make that drug? Make it and package it. $12. TWELVE dollars. And you know what?
What's up, Malvita? Thanks for being here.
Available for everybody. But now, look what they're charging. And they're making billions of bucks doing it. Millions of people are going to benefit.
Welcome back, Snooks. Is everything okay?
Congressman, I initially introduced a bill that said nobody has to pay more than $35. But they knocked out everybody except on Medicare. So all those, that mom talking about her 2 daughters when I was here last time, she's still paying $400 to $800 a year, a month. And if you don't have... Really,
who can afford $4,800 a month?
Talk about being deprived of your...
For that price, I think I'd just kick the bucket. Holy.
Your child.
Angry screaming.
Needs it. And you can't afford. Do what you know they need to be sure they can continue to live. It's wrong. It's wrong. So we got to get it.
Okay, Snooks. No worries. I just want to make sure you're all right.
And we amended the Affordable Health Care Act, so millions of people, poor folks, who couldn't afford the better health insurance, we were able to save them an average of $800 a year. Well, we're making that this year again to make sure that's the case. And by the way, that same piece of legislation contains the biggest investment ever to deal with the climate crisis we face. And by the way, if you don't think we have a climate crisis, come travel with me around the country. No, I'm not joking. Go back.
It's not a joke.
And here we are.
Here we are. Yes, old man Walter, here we are.
The Southwest and the Northwest, where more timber has burned to the ground than the entire state of Missouri. You hear me? The entire state. We have enormous drought. Now we have these superstorms in the West. I just was out in California in a helicopter with the governor again in Northern California. Folks, there is a thing called global warming. It's real. But we can do something about it. So what happened?
I care way more about like $1.50 gas prices.
When I invited the chairman of the board of the 3 major...
Loaf of bread not being $10. Milk not costing $8. I care more about that kind of stuff.
The chairman of the board of General Motors, Mary Barra, was suing the state of California because it had a higher standard for exhaust than the rest of the country, arguing that no state can have a higher standard than the federal government. Well, guess what? A week or 10 days later, I got a phone call.
Guess what?
And we're committing that we will go all electric by 2035. Saving billions of gallons of fossil fuels. Billions of gallons.
So how's the Chargers run?
The bill we passed, you know, we're in a situation where we're going to be able to save an awful lot of money. An awful lot of money. And by the way, $1,000 a year in tax credits for these vehicles when they purchase one, and energy-efficient appliances like refrigerators and washing machines. And we're paying for all of this, and finally making sure the biggest corporations just begin to pay a little bit. The days are over when corporations are paid zero in federal taxes. In 2021, 55 of the largest corporations in the Fortune 500 made $40 billion. You know how much they paid in taxes? Zero. Zero.
Because they know how to do their taxes correctly. Every business owner, if they're doing it correctly, doesn't have to pay a whole lot of taxes. Because, you know, that's the way the tax laws are made, is for businesses, not employees. Come on, old man Walter. You know, you've been wealthy for 300 years.
I don't think so. These big laws, we put them all in action.
What's up, Edward? I'm just glad that I am holy. I am just glad I'm old enough that he won't sniff me. Exactly, old man Walter. Edward, I don't want old man Walter sniffing me either. And I worry, you know, with this clean shave, he may mistake me for being a newborn. I don't want those problems. Deep inhale.
$35 for your insulin. Now I'm getting thousands of letters going, God, it happened. It happened. It didn't kick in until 2023. And look.
This guy's living in the future.
Too much of your time out, Paul.
You are.
You've heard, you know about the President's Cabinet, Secretary of State, Defense, all those things. Well, today, literally today, I'm creating an Investment in America cabinet. I'm taking all those cabinet members, secretaries, Commerce, Labor, Transportation, Treasury, Energy, Health and Human Services, and Environmental Protection Agency, and putting them in a sub-cabinet. Their fundamental job, plus I'm taking my 2 senior advisors carrying out the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. We're going to bring them together in an element of the federal government and invest wisely, and they're going to come up with a plan how we implement all that we've done.
John Gamble, a super sniffer event. Every time old man Walter's present.
Every single day, not a joke.
It's not a joke.
See what we've delivered. Give it to them directly. And in the process, I promise you what's going to happen. It's going to attract billions of dollars more in private investment and get the possible best results for American workers and families. Folks, too many people been left behind in the past. And too many people, like my dad.
You gonna pick your nose right here in front of God and everybody, old man Walter? Come on, man.
Isn't it kind of interesting?
You can clap for that.
All of a sudden, it hadn't been with my case, but all of a sudden, blue-collar workers,
pocket pool time.
Claymont and Scranton, they're voting Republican.
He's clamping down too hard. You can hear it in his voice.
What's happened? I think a lot of because they don't think we care. We're not paying attention.
Stop squeezing it so hard, old man Walter. We can hear it in your voice.
When I ran the first time as a 29-year-old kid for the Senate in 1972 and got elected, we had what I called limousine liberals. A lot of people wanted to do an awful lot, but they just forgot about my neighborhood. They forgot about the neighborhood I grew up in. We weren't poor, but we lived in a housing development in suburbia. I think it was 42 homes, split-level homes, 3 and 4 bedrooms. We had a 3-bedroom split-level home. In the process, we had 4 kids and a grandpa or an aunt living with us all the time. I look back and I wonder how the hell my parents did it, but we thought it was good. The walls were very thin.
What does that mean?
And my dad was a hard-working guy. He'd come home for dinner every night and go back to work. Not a joke. Like millions we weren't poor. My dad would be around today with 4 kids. He'd probably be making somewhere, I guess his salary, based on what it was then, would probably be like $85,000 a year. Enough to get by, but not enough to really, pay for college and all those things. And they remember in my old neighborhoods why the jobs went away and wonder whether a path even exists anymore for them to be counted in. These invisible folks that I grew up with. But I know we can forge that path. I'm confident we can. But building an economy where nobody's left behind.
Did he almost just fall backwards?
Nobody's left behind. Nobody left behind. Let's look at the results in just the 2 years.
He said he grew up with invisible people and then about fell backwards.
It's the lowest it's been in 50 years, number one. The first 2 years of my administration, we've had the strongest years of job growth ever in America.
Happy Freedom Ink Scars. Thanks for being here.
We created nearly 11 million jobs, including 750,000 manufacturing jobs. Where in the hell is it written that says America can't lead the world in manufacturing again? Where is that written? I don't know where it's written. And it's not going to be on my watch. Ladies and gentlemen.
Better chill out, old man Walter. Starting an insurrection.
Maybe focusing too much on America. The hell with that.
What the hell?
This is real serious. The supply chain is going to start here. Those nations that are democracies, they'll be able to benefit from what we're doing, and we'll make sure they have that supply chain done end with us. The unemployment rate is near record lows for black and Hispanic workers, and the lowest ever recorded for people with disabilities, the lowest ever in history. And over the last 2 years, more than 10 million people have applied to start a small business. That's more than any 2 years in all of recorded American history. And every time.
What is applying to be a small business? What does that even mean?
That's what we're seeing in these record numbers that we're breaking now. Hope.
Pretty sure you don't have to apply. You just are making money or you are not.
Health insurance today than any time in American history. Fewer families are facing foreclosure or evictions than before the pandemic. And inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay for workers has gone up. We got more work to do. I'm not saying it's over. Meanwhile, as I said, we got good news this morning. In the last quarter of 2022, the economy grew 2.9%. The last summer, plenty of Wall Street analysts were saying.
Thank you so much, Lone Wolf, for that $5 donation. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Lone Wolf.
We're going to be in a recession. Every time we've gone,
chill out, dude.
Well, it turns out, thank God, they were wrong. So is another group, the House Republican leadership. As I said, it's not your father's Republican Party. It's a different breed of cat. I call them extreme MAGA Republicans. Not all Republicans are there, but a distinct minority of 30 to 40% of them. As I said, they seem determined to be the party of chaos and catastrophe. Look, I'm ready to work with Republicans that I've demonstrated to the chagrin sometimes of my Democratic friends who want to make progress for the American people. I'm ready to compromise if there's something good we want to deal with. But like many Americans, I was disappointed to see what the very first bill the new House of Representatives passed.
I think it's hilarious. Everyone's typing fall in the chat.
$14 billion to the deficit, reducing taxes on the wealthy. They campaigned on inflation. They didn't say if elected they planned to make it worse. MAGA Republican introduced another bill. It's hard to believe. Check it out. As I used to say early on, Google it. Blocking action to help lower gas prices, to help consumers. And now these MAGA Republicans have to introduce another bill. It's going to eliminate the IRS, going to eliminate it completely. The only guys who can go in and look at the complicated tax returns that people have, and replace the IRS, which would be nice, no taxes, right? Except with a 30% national sales tax and everything from if you buy a home to a car to eggs. Who do you think pays for that? Who do you think is going to get ripped off? That's right. They want to raise taxes on working and middle-class people in America by passing a national sales tax, taxing every item from groceries, gasoline, clothing, supplies, medicine, even big-ticket items like rent and cars. 30% sales tax on all of those issues, all those pieces. Do you think, and by the way, I thought I heard today, Don, that the Speaker of the House says he's not sure he's for it now. Bless me, Father, for he has sinned. I tell you, I mean, there is redemption. The Republican Speaker says he's not so sure he's for it. Look, do they think this is going to help with inflation? In the process, cutting taxes on the wealthiest? You got to be kidding me. What in God's name is this all about? Look, That's how they're starting this new term. Cutting taxes on billionaires, raising taxes on middle-class families, and making inflation worse, for real. And let me be clear. If any of these bills somehow got past the House and the Senate, I will veto them.
He just needs a Hitler mustache.
I was here campaigning in Virginia in the off-year election, pointing out the Republicans wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. And y'all looked at me like, come on, Biden. Come on, man. Well, guess what? Americans have been paying into them every single paycheck since you were 16 years old. Well, I got a better idea. I want to strengthen Social Security and Medicare, not gut it. If wealthy Americans want to keep Medicare and Medicaid growing strong without having to cut anything, if wealthy Americans paid the same rate that you all pay, for example, up to $139,000, you pay slightly more the more you make, but it stops there. And so if you're making $1 billion, you pay the same amount you're paying if you made $139,000. I think it's $139,000. Well, guess what? Keep the same percentage or something like it. Make sure that nobody making more than, and I've said this and I've kept the commitment. As long as I'm president, no one making less than $400,000 will have a single penny of their taxes raised, period. I don't know many people making $400,000. Look, if Republicans
So gross.
work together on real solutions and continue to grow manufacturing jobs, build the strongest economy in the world, and make sure Americans are paid a fair wage, I'm ready. But I will not let anyone use the full faith and credit of the United States as a bargaining chip. The United States of America, we pay our debts. It took 200 years to accumulate that debt. Let me explain this. Look, under my predecessor, the last guy that was president, the deficit went up 4 years in a row, accounting for 40% of the entire 200 years of debt.
I want to get coffee, but I don't want an ad to just pop up.
No president added more to the debt in 4 years than my president. I misspoke. 25% of our country's entire debt. 25%, accumulated over 200 years. Added by the last administration in just 4 years. On my watch, we've taken a different path with Don's help. As a result, the last 2 years of my administration, we cut the deficit by $1.7 trillion, the largest reduction in debt in American history. While doing all the things I just said, we paid for it all. And the very notion that we would default on the safest, most respected debt in the world is mind-boggling. I'm not going to get into their reckless threats and take the economy hostage in order to force an agenda that's going to only limit American work.
That's exactly what KJP keeps saying, talking about hostage.
Let me close with this. We have more work to do, but we're on the right track. We're on the right track. Roads and bridges are being built. Factories are coming online. People are back to work. Families are breathing just a little bit easier, as my dad.
I'll look into it, Lone Wolf.
I've never been more optimistic. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My word is abiding. I've never been more optimistic about America's future than I am today. Never. We just have to remember who in God's name we are. We're the United States of America. And nothing is beyond our capacity if we work together. We've never failed to accomplish a goal we've set. Never, never, never. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
They gotta hurry and cut those cameras off before old man Walter falls down the stairs or starts double fisting and gulping that microphone. My goodness. All right, hooligans, well, we're gonna move forward. Good Lord, old man Walter, that was one of the most embarrassing speeches I've ever had to witness. Well, now we're going to move forward to a 6-minute video talking about migrants being arrested for shoplifting 12,000 doll hairs from Macy's. We're going to get that started. I'm also going to read through the chat, so just give me a second. sigh run. I will rejoice his passing. We're all gonna take shots. We'll take shots. Mr. Beansy Beans, I'm sorry, but that man makes my blood boil. He's just a old man. An old man. Whoever controls him and controls the rest of the country, that's who upsets me. Old man Walter, he doesn't even know where he is half the time. Doesn't excuse him for all the executive orders and all of that, but I'm not even sure that he's aware he's being controlled. Sam, they're watching you. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I guess it's not really whether or not it would be surprised. I seen my face and name in a DOJ document. Maybe one day I'll show that to you guys. I think jeffmaclive.com is going to see it first. So yeah, no, absolutely. There's feds in the chat every day. But if you ain't doing nothing wrong, it doesn't matter. Maybe they'll learn something, right? Maybe they'll learn something. Cornish, please stroke out on stage. One day we may witness that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? All right, hooligans. We're going to go ahead and get this started.
Border crisis breaking. President Biden's border crisis breaking even more records. Over 250,000 migrants encountered in December. That is the single highest month on record. As you know, border states are so fed up, they've been busing migrants to sanctuary cities like New York. And now 4 migrants that were on one of those buses have been reportedly arrested earlier this month in a big shoplifting bust. Police saying they stole over $12,000 in merchandise from a Macy's at a mall on Long Island. Cops say they caught the crew at a traffic stop for allegedly using bogus plates on a BMW. According to the police, 2 of the suspects listed a Manhattan hotel as their address. Mark, there's a lot of questions and frustrations that taxpayers in New York City hold, especially one where they see illegal immigrants that are being housed in upscale hotels, for example, around Times Square, being treated much better than the homeless or the incarcerated, both of whom those groups are citizens.
All true, but this is why that governors in places like Texas and Arizona have been busing these migrants to places like New York and Washington and Chicago. It's the biggest problem we have in our politics and why nothing gets solved is because the elites in these cities like New York and Washington never feel the impact of the policies that they impose and the calamities that they impose on the rest of the country. And so what these governors have done is they're giving New York and Washington a taste of what's happening in Eagle Pass. The difference between New York and Eagle Pass is, last I checked, Eagle Pass did not declare itself a sanctuary city. New York did. And so if you want these policies to change, if you're unhappy with all these things, vote new leaders in. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when New Yorkers elected Rudy Giuliani and we had a Republican mayor who came in and cleaned this stuff up. If you're unhappy with what's happening in your city, do something about it.
I certainly tried. My vote didn't count, apparently, this election. Harris, what disturbed me as well was the interviews with the hotel proprietors and owners who talked about how the food that they served was all going to waste, who talked about and showed photos of the destruction in these hotels that they had to foot the bill for. One that they reported an illegal immigrant got into an altercation, a physical assault of a security guard there. Drug use, more and more and more. These are not just about footing a bill. It's also about having extra costs and extra stress at the behest of the federal government.
What's up, Iron Horse? Thanks for being here.
Are describing. I mean, these men, you don't think they just got this inventive on their own like yesterday? Were they criminals in their previous countries? And look, the drug cartels are among us now. That jailbreak was real in Juarez. They went north. So
this guy freaks me out.
Unloading these goods, is that going to the cartel? Are we looking at like some sort of a cartel hub that could break open in our country? We better make sure we fund the police. And we better make sure that 19 or 20% or so that's always been, you know, Americans who've served this country wanting to continue to serve inside the country as civilians, we better hope those men and women still want to be part of our police forces after serving in the military. We're going to need their...
Thank you so much, Red, for gifting 5 memberships on YouTube. I appreciate you, Red. Thank you. If you guys are claiming those memberships, make sure you thank Red. Those memberships are not free.
That have been made now at the southern border. Again, not accounting for the 1.2 million gotaways that might have terror watch list members among those. The numbers, to Harris's point, are frightening, and they keep growing.
Well, you know, this is what happens when you don't have a southern border, when you don't care about national sovereignty. And President Biden was clear during the campaign before he won election. And then on day one, he basically tore down every single thing that we had done to kind of cobble together some kind of southern border. So nothing that's happening is surprising. And the fact that both Republicans and Democrats aren't taking this seriously also contributes to the problem.
What's up, Kev Chat?
We have ceded control of our border to the cartels, and there was just last week in my home county of Tulare County in California, a cartel-style killing, probably related to drugs, and you know, this really does change the way things are happening. You do not want to import from Mexico the type of justice system they have there, where cartels are completely controlling what happens.
That killing was of a young mother, by the way. It was a brutal execution of a young mother and her baby. Yeah, I didn't know you were from Tulare.
Molly, I love what you're saying. It's like it's on both sides of the aisle. Republicans and Democrats need to qualify this as a crisis, and once you know what it is and objectify it, a humanitarian crisis, an immigration crisis, an asylum crisis.
You don't think Republicans have done that?
Well, we need to come together and have the conversation to put solutions forward. But one side doesn't want to call it a crisis, the other one is. And as long as we keep pointing fingers at each other, there will never be the forum. Remember the Gang of Eight back in the day? A version of that, something that gets us to solutions. But I do love, and Mark, you hit it right on the head. I live in Texas.
Now I see how they got all that Jordan stuff they had on. They had Jordans on, they had jerseys on. I'm trying to think, I think I seen a couple polo outfits and stuff when they were coming in, you know, just crossing the border all willy-nilly.
That gets hit, but nothing gets solved.
Well,
and the cost factor that now you feel it when it gets to your town. It sounds nice to be welcoming, but then when it hits your bottom line and your streets, it feels a little bit.
I like how they said that they pulled over the suspects in a BMW that had illegal plates on it. How did they obtain a vehicle if they're not even legally here? They don't have an ID. How did they get the car? Did they steal the car? Like, come on, man.
Build a wall to try to finish off what they can to stem that
and
tide.
to file lawsuits to
no
declare
more words.
disasters.
We need action.
Yes.
We need
Republicans have been doing it for years. Hey everyone, I'm Emily.
Well, there really isn't much I can say to that other than we're watching and witnessing the fruits of their labor. They allow these people to come here undocumented. I don't care who comes here as long as they come here legitimately. If I have to be on papers in case I commit crime or whatever, I think everyone should be. To let people just come here unknowingly of who they are, unregistered, no documentation, why even allow them to come here? Because you got to have identification to drive, to get a license, to have a place to live, to have a place to work. Well, they're not getting those kind of credentials, but they're still allowed to come here. Well, then what are they influenced to do? Commit crime. Because it's easier to commit crime than it is to register for a job, to register for an ID, to register for a bank account, to register for a place to live. It's very difficult to do all that. When I was 16, I remember getting my first check over at KFC or whatever, because prior to that, I'd always been paid in cash, doing under-the-table jobs and whatnot, and I was young, so it's not like I was making any real money. But when I did get my first check, I remember going to the bank and having them tell me they wouldn't even cash it unless I had an ID, which makes sense. But as a frustrated 16-year-old, I was saying, well, how am I supposed to pay for an ID if you won't cash my check? And I remember just feeling like I was stuck in a paradox, like it was an oxymoron, and I was just the clown guy there. But now I'm sitting here as a full-grown adult, seeing these illegals come over, and it's like, how do they plan on surviving? You can't even, you need an ID for nearly everything. I mean, even to watch rated R movies at a theater, you have to provide ID. These guys have their addresses a hotel. They have a BMW somehow they obtained. They also obtained plates that didn't belong on the vehicle. Then they robbed Macy's for $12K. So there shouldn't be any surprise at that. They were never really given the opportunity to go get a real job anyways, because they weren't forced to come here legally, where they would be given credentials to be able to prosper here in this country where ID is pretty much required for everything. So, they're just allowing them to come here and be criminals and stuff, and they don't care. They don't care. They want to act like it's a big good thing, and it's not. This is not surprising at all. Not at all. This is just fruits of their labor. All right, hooligans, we're going to move forward. From here on out, we're going to be covering articles. So I'm going to be posting links in the chat so you guys can read along with me. Just give me a second here. Nah, 10 man, there's no White House press briefing today. We do have another White House Live at 5:30, I think it is. Old Man Walter and Jill Handler. Some hosting some sort of event. I'll be able to read it here in a second. I'm dropping these links real quick. Jonathan, at least make them go through America's Got Talent. I'm saying. At least make it entertaining if you're going to let them come here and burn our country down. Yeah, at 5:30 today, we're going to be covering Old Man Walter and Jill Handler hosting a Lunar New Year reception. So that'll be coming up later today after Coffee with Hooligans is over. The link that I posted in the chat should take you here to this article titled "Do Not Pay," which is the company name, retires robot lawyer before it even has its first case. Now, this is a continuation of an article that we had read last week about AI lawyers. It was supposed to be a case in an unknown location. It was, I assume, going to be disclosed when the case was going to start, but it was supposed to defend somebody facing a speeding ticket. I think he was going to be informed through an earpiece by AI on what to say to the judge defending his case, being charged with speeding tickets. So we had read this last week. This is just a continuation of that, but the article starts off by saying, if you've been fantasizing about the day an AI could get you out of paying a traffic ticket, you'll just have to keep dreaming. Do Not Pay has backed out of its plans to use AI-powered robot lawyer to counsel a defendant through a courtroom hearing in real time. The reason? Well, apparently the law got in the way of the robot lawyering. The company's founder, CEO Joshua Broder, probably incorrect, but that's okay, first announced the news in a Wednesday tweet, saying, after receiving threats from state bar prosecutors, it seems likely that they will put me in jail for 6 months if I follow through with bringing a robot lawyer into a physical courtroom, he wrote. The article then goes on to say, Do Not Pay initially announced that it had developed an AI legal advice tool using OpenAI's ChatGPT technology, and was planning on testing the tool in a real-life court case earlier this month. But then the backlash from lawyers and bar associates began. Broder told Gizmodo, it was his statement, as he was talking to Gizmodo. Then the article goes on to say that they were threatening to charge us with unauthorized practice of law, Broder said. He further speculated that other charges, like interfering with judicial, I'm sure I just slaughtered that, that practice could been on the docket, though extensive discussions with his company's actual human legal advisors. Broder said it became clear that, according to my counsel, I could go to jail for 6 months for helping one person with a $200 speeding ticket. Unauthorized practice of law charges carry widely varying prison sentences from state to state. but range up to 2 years for first-time offenders, according to a 2011 analysis. The article mentions Broder is British and a non-U.S. citizen. He said, "I don't need that on my record. I don't want this drama." The article also says that he mentioned, "I don't really think that the courts and lawyers would be so angered by this, or be angered because I thought it was just a traffic ticket case and not a Supreme Court case." The article wraps up by saying, "This courtroom stuff was never a product to begin with. It was just an advocacy project." Broder emphasized, "Lawyers won this round, but we're coming back. Even if Do Not Pay survives this PR roller coaster, though the robot lawyer certainly did not." So that's that. We were talking about this last week about how interesting it would be if your public defender was AI. So if you're arrested, you have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot provide one, the court will do it for you. The state will provide it to you. Now, generally, it's some sleazebag attorney that works and probably has intimate relationships with the prosecutor, and really you're just being pushed through the court system so everything goes smoothly for the court. In this case, they were talking about having an AI represent you and stuff like that, and I had speculated when we had talked about this before that may replace court-appointed attorneys, also known as public defenders, to where they would just shove you off onto AI, and this would be your counsel, your representation in court. And how we rely on our phones so heavily, if we were to start practicing this 10, 20 years from now, you would just rely on this AI. And if they told you to plead guilty and stuff like that, you would probably just do it. You're being influenced by something you believe is smarter than you, so you would just take its advice. And I was talking about how dangerous that could be because of how electronics are controlled through community guidelines, restrictions, mandates, stuff like that. And it'd be a slippery slope for all of us to be guided by AI when you're protecting your own rights and you're defending yourself in criminal cases. It'd be really easy to have you be influenced down the wrong path without you actually knowing it, because especially if you're a first-time offender, anybody that's arrested just means that someone made a call to the police and pointed a finger at you. It doesn't actually mean you're a criminal because you've been arrested. You're a criminal once you've been sentenced. Based on your reaction to the court case, if you were being defended by AI, you could become a criminal just because the AI told you to plead guilty, because it would be a smoother outcome. That kind of control by digital software and stuff like that scares me a lot, and that's why we cover these kind of articles, to stay aware. It's not just the bad people on the screen we got to watch, it's the software they develop that is soon controlling our lives, just like YouTube and everything else. Like I keep mentioning, everyone hates that software and platforms keep going woke, and they make it so you can't even speak or really exist without being penalized. But what I don't think people are realizing is, wait till your water company, your electric company, your gas company and stuff like that, wait till they go woke. Wait till you can't have heat because you didn't vote blue team. Wait till you don't have power because you're not liberal enough. This is what I feel is going to happen in the near future. All right, hooligans, we're going to be moving on to the final article here. Give me a moment so I can post these links in the chat so you can follow along with me. Yeah, I appreciate you, cool guy. Yeah, I don't know. I come across a lot of AI stuff, but if it seems really impacting, generally I pull it up. Sam, AI passed the bar exam with a C. Yeah, I seen that. ChatGPT. They're supposed to have like a pro version coming out soon. I think it's based off all the information that ChatGPT, the free version, collected from all of its users. So this pro version, I think, is going to be something that people have to pay for. It's already hurting schools and businesses, just like the AI that creates art, lyrics, things like that. There's all kinds of copyright infringement lawsuits happening and stuff. AI is taking over, but it's so quiet. it is so quiet that people don't even realize it's happening. And that's why we're trying to shine a little light on that. Zechariah, I checked it out. I have you pulled up. You'll see. After the live. Alright, hooligans, we're going to be wrapping up today with this last article here. It's titled Minnesota Democrat Reintroduces Bill Banning Members of Congress from Owning and Trading Stocks. I feel like that should have been that way from day one. These people run the country, which has a definitely big influence on the stock market. Why would they be allowed to do that? So the article begins by saying Representative Angie Craig, who's a Democrat, on Wednesday announced that she's reintroducing legislation to keep members of Congress from owning and trading stocks. The article then goes on saying that she stated our constituents sent us to Congress to lower health care costs, fix our roads and bridges, and help create good-paying jobs, not play the stock market and line our own pockets. Unfortunately, some of my colleagues have gotten sidetracked by special interests and conflicts of interest. Craig said in a release about the halt unchecked member benefits, which must be something specific because all of that has capital letters, with lobbying elimination, also known as the Humble Act. The article says the Humble Act would also slap lawmakers with a lifetime ban on lobbying and restrictions against serving on corporate boards while in Congress. The article also mentions that lawmakers... Come on, man. Goofy article. The article mentions that lawmakers wouldn't be able to fly first class with taxpayer funds, and their pay would be withheld if the House failed to elect a speaker on the first day of the new Congress, entering another draw-out speakership fight like the one we saw with Representative Kevin McCarthy, elected earlier this month. The article then says Craig's proposal follows the reintroduction earlier this month on the Transparent Representation Upholding Service and Trust. This altogether is called Trust in Congress Act, led by Representative Abigail Spanberger, also a Democrat, and Chip Roy, who is a Republican. The Trust in Congress Act would require members of Congress, their spouses, and their dependent children to transfer certain investment assets into a qualified blind trust while serving on Capitol Hill. The article wraps up by saying the bill also seeks to ban members of Congress from trading and owning stocks. Well, as I said in the beginning, I don't understand why that's not already in place. Why is that not already a thing? Well, that's because Congress doesn't have term limits, and they're not going to let something like that pass because they have 100-year agendas that are created, and they got to keep that moving along. If you've ever gone and researched federal documents that have been released because of FOIA or hitting the 50-year mark or 60-year mark, whatever it is, where they have to release that information. One of the documents I came across, this was years ago, I think it was in the 50s or 60s, they were talking about how they had an agenda where they wanted all Americans to have GPS so they would be able to track Americans and know how many there are. Here we are now with one of these. Took like 60 years or something to put that into play. We don't know it. We think this device conveniences us and our life, but really it tracks us, it watches us, it listens to us. All of our devices do. Now it scans our face and all that other stuff. These plans are only able to be put forth because of Congress, because The president rolls every 4 years or 8 years, depending on how that goes, and everybody else has a term, but Congress don't. Now what happens? Oh, well, we get the new guy in office, and he has to somehow come to agreements with Congress and all of that. So really, if they want to put their heels in the sand, it's not a whole lot you can do about it. When you got no term limits on these people, they decide what happens over 70 years, 100 years. That stuff's not okay, and that's how these agendas get pushed. That's how bad stuff happens, real bad stuff, especially if you know history, World War stuff, all of that. There's agendas since before World War II that are still being implemented. You can find it in federal documents. The stuff is crazy, but that all comes back to Congress. They shouldn't be allowed to trade stock or do any of that kind of stuff. You either work for the government or you don't. You can't have it both ways. It's definitely a conflict of interest, I feel. It's all my opinion. It's fine if you don't agree. But that's that. That's the last article. I'm going to give you guys my spiel, and then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Alright, hooligans, I'm going to give you my spiel, but I'm also going to show you the website, because I think people are going to the JeffMacmusic website, and that is not the website I am referring to. This is jeffmaclive.com. See a little snowflakes on the screen? Cost me $60 to be able to do that. Anyways, these are all my nice pretty little links that I'm always talking about, and I really wish you guys would go check them out. Look at Klaus Daniels' face on his own little YouTube channel. I really need to get this new content up because he's hilarious. Anyways, here's my spiel. Please go to jeffmaclive.com or find the link in the description. On the homepage is all of my links listed. You can find the link to join Gilded for free. Gilded is currently the best way to receive notifications for when and where we go live every time we go live. You'll also receive notifications for important updates. There's a news board on there to keep you up to date with everything going on around the world. And there's tons and tons of hooligans to hang out with every day, all day, to talk about whatever you like. So definitely join Gilded. You can use Gilded on a computer. You can download the app on your phone and then click the link. But I think it's the best way to go. Don't wait for YouTube to give you notifications, because half the time they won't. Also on the JeffMac Live homepage, you can find links to the merch store if you would like to grab merch. We have shirts, hoodies, and stickers. I do want to kind of throw out there, we have zipper hoodies and pullover hoodies. I'm a person that prefers zipper hoodies. Other people prefer pullover hoodies, so I just kind of want to state that we have both. Everything is displayed in black and white or white and black, but if you find something you like, just click on the item to see all the colors that that item comes in. You can also find links for PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Stripe, Zelle, and Buy Me a Coffee on the JeffMac Live homepage if you would like to support what I do. There's also a link to Amazon wish list if you would like to send me stuff. It's really easy to use. Anything you purchase will be sent directly to me without you having to come find information or anything like that. It's really simple. And then finally, you can find the links to join membership programs on the bottom of jeffmaclive.com. There's membership programs for YouTube, Gilded, Discord, Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. So definitely check out jeffmaclive.com. It is currently open, so if you guys would like, you could get a membership and then view the live. We have hooligans that are live right now here on our live page, but you won't be able to participate unless you're a member. Everything on the website is uncensored, and it is the home of the hooligans. It is still considered under construction. It's a little clunky, but you're not being censored over there. You'll get your own profile. It's kind of like Facebook and all that. We have a live chat to participate in and all kinds of other stuff, so definitely check out jeffmaclive.com. All right, hooligans, let's get ready for the pledge. All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I could be having the worst day, And as soon as I do the pledge, I feel a lot better, especially hanging out with all of you hooligans. Well, I appreciate you guys. That's all I have for Coffee with Hooligans. We will be live about an hour and a half. We're going to be covering Old Man Walter and Jill Handler and their, let me just read it. Brain's starting to get all fuzzy. 5:30, we will be covering Old Man Walter and Jill Handler hosting a Lunar New Year reception. That is 5:30 Eastern Time. Hopefully I'll see all of you hooligans there. I appreciate all of you. You guys are amazing. Sorry I was super late. I'm still not feeling that great, but it's not an excuse. I'm sorry. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hopefully you had some laughs. And I'll see you guys on the next live. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership program, or purchased any merch. I appreciate all of you, and I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.